This is Lviv Central Station. There are tens of thousands of people coming in and out, and one of them, I'm delighted to say, is our colleague John Sparks, and his team have just arrived on a long journey from Dnipro. John, welcome. It's nice to see you in one piece. What was it like?
Thank you, Adam. About 21 hours on a very congested train. It was hot, it was packed, people had maneuvered themselves into any slither of space that they could get themselves in. And it was extraordinary to see, extraordinary to document. And I have to say, our experience, the experience of myself and my colleagues, nothing in comparison to what the people in that train were going through. This was a journey that was full of tears. We saw people crying, particularly when they left the station in Dnipro. I think it's very, very difficult for people in Ukraine to believe that this is actually happening. I mean, you've spoken to people, I've spoken to people about a week ago who said, I just don't believe this would ever happen. I don't believe that President Putin would invade Ukraine. And then some people saying, well, if he does, we're going to kick their proverbial butts. But you know what? Things are moving very, very quickly, and it's difficult for people to come to grips with that. And we were finding that on the train. It's difficult. People are scared. People don't know, in many cases, what they're going to do when they get here. I think the general idea for many is to head to the European Union, but they've heard that the queues in Poland are huge. Some people are talking about going to Slovakia, some to Romania. So it's incredibly unsettling and destabilizing for people. Many who have children, many people there with elderly people as well, and many people feeling a sense of shame as well. Shame that they are leaving, that they are not staying, they're not going to stay and defend their communities. They may be leaving their elderly parents as well. So a lot of conflicting emotions, and we got close to that on this trip.
And one thing that strikes me so strongly is that, this is a relatively young nation. It's only, 3 decades old.
Yeah.
And what could be the destruction of this nation is actually forging it, isn't it? It's forging its identity.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that may have been one of the calculations on behalf of the Russians. There is a sizable Russian-speaking minority here, also an ethnic Russian minority as well. They may have assumed that they were going to get some support. They might get some backing in places like Kharkiv, where we were earlier in the week. What they have found there is that they will get virtually no support, no backing. And now they've tried to run armored columns into that city. That hasn't worked. Now they seem to be in the process of trying to flatten it. And I think that's one of the things that is so frightening and so scary, because we know what the Russians are prepared to do in previous conflicts, in Grozny, in Chechnya, in Syria, in Aleppo. And people know that. People are aware of that. They know the potential for this conflict to go on, and they know how destructive it can be. And they've had to leave, for the most part, they've had to leave their husbands, their brothers, in many cases their sons behind, because, as you know, martial law is now in place. Men between the ages of 18 and 60 cannot leave this country anyway. And one of the very poignant moments for us when we left Dnipro was that most of the people who got on the train were women and children. The people waving goodbye, and often with tears in their eyes, were the men. And, they don't know when they're going to see each other again.
John, it is very good to have you back in one piece. We're going to let you have a bath and a cup of tea.